This is a production of WKNO Memphis. Production funding for Behind the Headlines is made possible in part by the WKNO Production Fund, the WKNO Endowment Fund, and by viewers like you. Thank you.
Dr. David Rudd, president of the University of Memphis, tonight on Behind the Headlines. I'm Eric Barnes, publisher of the Memphis Daily News. Thanks for joining us. I am joined tonight by Dr. David Rudd, president of the University of Memphis. Thanks for being here.
Happy to be here.
Also, Bill Dries, senior reporter with the Memphis Daily News. So you were named president in May after, was it a year, I believe, as provost?
About a year as provost,
Yeah.
and started as president in May. That's correct.
Your priorities, let's start there and then we'll get into details, but your priorities as president.
Well, we have several areas of focus, and one is for growth for the university, and so we're looking for growth in terms of the student base, both at the undergraduate level as well as the graduate level. We're looking for improvement in quality of our ability to offer a comprehensive educational experience to our students. We're looking for growth in terms of research capacity for the university. And we're looking at doing all of those things within a framework of containing cost. And so one of the things that's critical for us and critical for our future is being able to maintain a cost-effective approach to higher education for our students, one of the greatest challenges of our students. And then consistent with the governor's vision for higher education in Tennessee, which we support, is the notion of improved outcomes. So we want to improve our graduation rates, we want to improve our retention rates and overall success for our students.
And you came in at a time, I can't remember exactly the timing, but there was a $20 million shortfall.
We had a $20 million budget gap for the university. It was a structural deficit, and really what that means is that at the heart of the university, our core infrastructure was a little larger than we could support on a sustainable basis.
Yeah, and is that people? I mean, or is it a mix of people? So I mean, it's a huge campus, but there's also a huge payroll.
There is a huge payroll. So the overall budget for the university is about $480 million. I would tell you that most organizations, and particularly in organizations, institutions like universities, about 80% of those costs are probably personnel costs.
Yeah. But you made the decision. I mean, it's part of a national, debate, dialogue, worry on the part of parents. The skyrocketing costs of college, that have gone up so much. You closed that gap not with the tuition increase, correct, but with expense cuts.
We closed that gap with expense cuts, and I would tell you a little bit more than that. We did a little bit more than expense cutting. We looked at operational efficiency, organizational structure, and how can we deliver a high quality educational experience and do it in the most efficient way possible. So every opportunity that we've had for greater efficiency and improved effectiveness, we've taken advantage of that. And that's something that we continue to do. So when opportunities emerge to look at whether the structure of one of our entities, and much of that is on the administrative side, about how we monitor and manage what we do. We've certainly targeted those, and we've got a few more things that we'll do in the coming year around that. But we've been able to close that gap. We've been able to hold tuition down. So we had no tuition increase for the first time, and originally we had said that was the first time in 23 years, but now that we've gone back and looked at the history, actually
Right.
the first time in 30 years.
And is that, I assume there'll be tuition increases in the future. Your costs do go up.
Absolutely.
That's not a permanent situation.
That's not a sustainable model. We certainly can't maintain flat tuition.
Yeah.
That's not realistic. But what we can do is look at trying to manage tuition increases in an effective way. Our average increase over the course of the last 15 years was 8.4%.
That's a lot.
That outstrips inflation by about
Right.
70%.
Right.
And so that certainly isn't manageable. And so as the state has reduced support, we cannot continue to balance it by shifting those costs to students into tuition. So we're looking for alternative models, and I think we're finding some exciting ways to do that.
Okay. Bill.
And I believe, did the Regents recently improve a hourly wage increase?
They did. They
employees?
approved an hourly wage increase for our lowest paid hourly employees at the university. It's an issue that the university's been grappling with for arguably 15 years. We feel good about it. It was the right thing for us to do, to have a meaningful wage for those employees, one that really reflects their commitment in service to the university and the community.
Is there the prospect for increased state funding at some point? Because your successor, Dr. Raines, certainly dealt with trying to make things happen on the campus with no increase in state funding.
You know, I hope that there is. I mean, I think that the reality is that when you look at you look at state funding for higher education, certainly any and all of us in higher education would argue for more support. Now, what we would hope is that the formula that is in place and was approved and supported by the governor would be fully funded. And if we had a fully funded formula, that would mean an increase for the university. We have had improvement in three critical areas with respect to outcomes. We've had improvement in retention rates, we've had improvement in degrees awarded, in graduation rates, and we've had improvement in movement from lower division to upper division in students. Those are critical outcomes in the formula, and we would hope that that would be fully funded and recognized, because it's hard for us to maintain that infrastructure and the support required to have those outcomes if we don't have the funding.
As we are taping this program on a Friday morning, President Obama is due in Knoxville later today to preview his State of the Union message. And one of the things he wants to at least explore is expanding the Tennessee Promise program, the last dollar scholarship promising 2 years of free community college to every Tennessee high school graduate. And the first enrollees in that program are in, and there are still some debates about what that does to four-year institutions, quote-unquote four-year institutions like the University of Memphis. What do you think going into this first year of it that impact will look like?
Well, we studied that. So we looked at that, and for us, we studied it in some depth last year when this opportunity emerged, and we think it'll have marginal impact for us, and I can give you a couple of examples of that. But ultimately, there are different groups of students. And so if you look at Tennessee Promise, the goal is to bring students into higher education that traditionally had not been attracted to higher education, had not had the opportunity, and that includes community college experience as well as technical school. Those are probably different groups of students than the students that we recruit and the students that we traditionally have gone after. So they're really different subpopulations of high school students. And if you look at our applications this year, we've been very aggressive. As you know, we had the 250-mile radius program that we implemented late last year. It was in the summer, where we removed out-of-state tuition rates within a 250-mile radius of the university. As of this week, we have 13,700 applications. That's relative to last year when we had about 4,200 applications at this time. We have admitted, so those are students that have completed their applications, all of the work required to that, paid their application fee. We have now admitted over 5,200 students to the University of Memphis, and at this time last year we had admitted about 3,000.
Wow.
So we're optimistic that we have a strategy in place, and frankly, we're optimistic. We've been proactive. We've gotten out in front of this, and we're really attracting a different student for the most part. But after a couple of years, the students that will be in the pool that will transfer to the University of Memphis will increase, and so
the pool maybe from those kids who went to community college through the drive to 50.
Because there will be a subpopulation of those students who would like to go ahead and transition to a four-year degree, who may not have anticipated that at the beginning. So we actually are optimistic. We think the first couple of years we're going to have growth regardless, and then we think after that it increases the pool.
Let's go back to those numbers because they're huge. Your ideal, you talked about 12,000,
13,700.
13,000 applicants versus 4,000 a year ago. Your ideal undergraduate, is that for undergraduates or graduates and undergraduates?
That's for new freshmen.
Okay,
so those
new
are
freshmen.
Yeah.
So, and your ideal class size is?
We would love to have a class of 3,000, a little bit over 3,000 for a new freshman class.
So is that a number you've attained in the past, or is this sort of a difference if we have a higher quality student? I mean, not to be ugly, but there are a couple of different factors.
No, we do have a higher quality student, and so actually I think that is a great point, and let me emphasize two things about it. When you have a budget problem, so you mentioned the shortfall that we had, a $20 million problem, one of the easy ways to solve that problem is lower standards. We did not do that. And so actually the selectivity rate at the university has improved profoundly. And we have maintained our standards, and actually they have inched up in terms of average ACT score, average GPA. Last year, of the students we admitted, 24% were honor students. And our overall metrics in terms of student performance have continued to increase. So and the selectivity has improved.
And does that play out in terms of those kids are more apt to finish the full 4 years?
Absolutely. I mean, we can look at that data, so we can look at high school performance, we can look at ACT scores, and we can tell you the probability of completing a degree and how quickly they'll do that. So what the timeline is for those students in terms of whether or not they're probably going to do it in 4 years, 5 years, or 6 years.
There's a quote when you were speaking at Rotary many months ago, maybe in the summer, and you talked about kids, looking at kids who would leave, who would drop out. Yeah. And sometimes it was as little as, and I don't mean to, but as little as compared to the overall cost, a few $100, $300, I think was the quote. That was just like, I'm short the money, I can't go back to school, I'm going to take a semester off. And I think you said that I think the school has found the studies are if you take that semester off, your chance of coming back diminish greatly. What can you do, or what have you put in place, or what will you put in place for those kids who are coming up just a little bit short and taking that time off?
We have put in place two things. One, we created a program called the Finish Line Program, and what that program does is it targets those students. And so now we have a mechanism in place so that the Finish Line targets students that complete 90 hours, withdraw from school. The reason the 90-hour metric is important is that means you've got 1 year to finish. And we can help you get that year to finish. We actually found a pool. We've gone back over 5 or 6 years, and we've got a pool of over 4,500 students that have withdrawn at 90 hours plus and transitioned to no other university. So they've simply left higher education, and they've left higher education a year short of a degree.
Right.
So we put a program in place. We've now graduated in this first 9 months of this program, I believe 145 students as of this last December.
Yeah.
The average number of hours required to finish is under 6, less than 2 courses, and the average cost for those students is less than $700.
Wow.
To finish. And so it's just offering the support and actually making something available for them, providing the infrastructure and providing the people contact needed to help them complete the degree.
One more question about the radius, and I'll go back to Bill. You talked about the 250-mile radius, and the difference in in-state and out-state tuition has been, like if you lived in DeSoto County, let's say, you're out of state, your tuition was what compared to in-state tuition?
Well, we've had a border county agreement for a while, but that border county, that border county agreement, it's almost double. It's about $6,000. And so if you live outside of those border counties and you live within that 250-mile radius, say you live in Arkansas, it's hard for us to be competitive at a pricing standpoint with University of Arkansas, where you can go to University of Arkansas for $6,000 less than you can go to the University of Memphis. What's fascinating is we took that challenge on. We've now eliminated the cost barrier, and look what's happened to our application pool. It's grown remarkably.
And so it's about, for a freshman, it's about $8,000 a year. Is that
It's
correct?
about $8,400.
$8,400. And so you compare that. I mean, it's amazing the cost of schools now. And I say this as a parent. I have a stepson and as a freshman in college, and I have a junior. My son's a junior, so this is very heavy on my mind. I mean, from $8,000, you've got, I don't know what Rhodes is right now, but it's in the 40s. I think that Vanderbilt, I mean, just going through schools.
Vanderbilt is almost 60.
Almost 60. UT is in the 20-something range, I think. I mean, it's amazing, the range. Is that, no one wants to be the low-cost, low-quality provider, but to be the low-cost, high-quality provider is a competitive advantage?
It's a remarkable competitive advantage, and I would tell you that we're doing a couple of things. One, we are a great quality, comprehensive educational experience, period. Part of the challenge that we had is competing with other, I would tell you, great universities within our region that you would have to pay dramatically more to go to the University of Memphis. We've eliminated that challenge, and as a result, we've got a greater application pool, high quality students, and the challenge for us now is to effectively brand that. So the challenge for us is to relate that message, and what you're going to see in February, March, and April of this year is a rollout of a new branding campaign. So we're going to argue, here's what is unique to the University of Memphis.
It is something, and I really will go to Bill, but is some of that, it seems parallel to what's happened with the law school, for instance. The law school is very highly regarded. It's on all the lists of top regional schools. It's got one of the top moot court teams in the country. It's got all these accolades, but it's a fraction of the cost of a lot of its peer schools. And is that kind of the model for the undergraduate?
That is precisely the model, and actually you put your finger on something that few people know we did. Last year, we actually piloted reduced tuition for the law school to see if it had an impact on out-of-state applications, because we're really empirically driven. I mean, one of the things we like to do is have some data to inform the decision making of what we do, and so we piloted that with the law school, and what we found is we had a remarkable response nationally from out-of-state students when we took on the costing issue for the law school.
Yeah.
And the law school has grown their application pool. They had some increase in size in students, and as we know nationally, law schools are down about 15%.
Yeah.
And application pools are down almost 50%
Yeah.
for law schools nationally. So we're growing at a time when everyone else is shrinking. And I would tell you that we've got great quality. As you know, the law school was selected as the best facility in the country. And the argument that I would make is that we're not just the best facility, we've got faculty to match the facility.
Yeah.
And when people get to see it, they recognize that.
Yeah, Bill.
Let's talk about another segment of your student population, the veterans, and that's a student group that I think you talked about people within a year of their degree. The veterans are a very different group because obviously they've served the country for their time in the military, and they return probably a better prospect in terms of completion and rolling with the punches of trying to pursue college than they were before they went into the service.
Oh, I would agree completely. They return. I'm a veteran as well, and I would tell you that veterans return from their service, and not only do they have a breadth of world exposure, experience, expertise, in skills, but they return with a perspective that is perhaps a little different than an 18 or 19-year-old student that hasn't had that experience. They're very focused on finishing. They know what they want to do. And they pursue it with considerable vigor. And we have actually grown our veteran student population considerably. We started a new Veteran Resource Center. We've got a partnership with the National Center for Veteran Studies that I started when I was at the University of Utah. Mm-hmm. We actually will announce some grant support this late spring, early summer. That we have with the Department of Defense for a new project that we're doing that's looking at veterans, and so we've got a lot of activity on the veteran side.
Are veterans always aware of all of the benefits that are there for them to complete their college education?
Actually, they're not, and I think and what's interesting about it is we have people that aren't even aware they're veterans. So you have a lot of people that believe that veteran status means that you served in combat, not that you served in the military. And then we have some people that believe that if you served in the military but didn't serve during wartime, that you're not a veteran. And so we've tried to get the word out and one, help people recognize their veteran status, and then two, resource our center adequately so they had advising that helped them recognize what's available to them. Because there are great supports that are available for veterans, particularly veterans in higher education today. And so I think we're doing a nice job of that. We've got some great leadership over there and very pleased with the movement.
I referred a little bit earlier to the term four-year university. Tell me about how long it takes your students on an average to complete their degree, those who complete their degree.
Nationally, on average, it's over 5 years now, and so that's not just University of Memphis. That's everyone in higher education today. It's a little bit over 4 years, and a part of what that reflects are the unique challenges of higher education. So we were talking a little bit earlier about cost. So part of the expansion of that timeline and horizon for graduation for students is a function of cost, and so it requires students to work more to help pay for those expenses, and as a result, it delays their graduation because they can't take as many hours. They can't participate fully in the summer, and so there are interesting consequences all the way around in terms of escalation of costs.
Do students work because they are afraid of the student debt, or is student debt as sharp of an issue as it was, let's say, 5 years ago for higher education?
It's more significant an issue today than it's ever been for students in higher education. Student debt is something that we talk about on a frequent basis about how do we help students lower that debt? How do we put systems in place? And one of the things we're trying to do is we have worked very carefully to try to grow our strategic partnerships with local employers and corporations. There's some wonderful corporate support in Memphis. And a way that we can do that is by building building internship opportunities, co-op opportunities for our students, and that helps them blend their educational experience and have applied work experience that elevates the possibility of employment immediately after graduation or even prior to graduation. And so all of those things help us take on the student debt and the cost issue while we provide a comprehensive, high-quality educational experience.
And you, as I understand it, that approach, you also talk to employers as well and say, you know, can we arrange possibly some flexible schedule here, keeping in mind that you employ a student who both of us would like to see complete their education.
Yeah, absolutely, and we're doing that. We are doing that. We are doing that employer by employer. So we actually have a program that we call the Key 50 program, where we had targeted working with and developing strategic partnerships with the top 50 employers in Memphis. We've now expanded that to the Key 100, and we will continue to expand that in coming years.
Let me race it. We have about 6 minutes left here, and give not enough time to some big issues. One is a bit of a controversy now with this Relay graduate school possibly coming into the university. Tell me what Relay is, and we'll try to talk through the struggle.
It is. It's an interesting issue, and I would tell you that it's not about Relay coming into the university. That actually isn't really the challenge. It's about us partnering with other entities. Yeah. That's no different than if we were partnering with Christian Brothers, or we were partnering with Rhodes, or we're partnering with others. We will hopefully announce some effort in February with Shelby County Schools. It will be a part of a broader effort, a partnership with Shelby County Schools in terms of the University of Memphis playing a role not only in teacher preparation in the priority schools. Last year, we placed 19 teachers in the priority schools in Shelby County.
Priority failing schools.
Yes, those are the bottom 5%, the most challenging educational environment. The need there is about 600 a year.
Yeah, I was going to say 19 seemed real small.
It's tiny, and every year the number has gotten smaller for us. And so what we're looking at doing and what we're exploring, and I've got some conversations that I'm having with the College of Education. Actually had a conversation, good productive conversation with the College of Education leadership yesterday.
Right.
We've got a meeting scheduled next week with the faculty, and we're going to pursue how do we partner, how do we do this in a way that benefits Shelby County, benefits these children. The need is tremendous, arguably the most serious challenge to the future of Shelby County.
And Relay is worked in other states. I think came out.
They've worked in five other states. Yeah.
Specifically targeting, training teachers to go into high priority failing schools.
And they don't need the University of Memphis to be in Shelby County.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the thing that's important for everybody to understand is that Relay can. They can work in Shelby County. They're an independent entity. They can work in Shelby County. What we would like to do is how do we partner to increase our production of teachers in those areas? How do we partner with other entities, knowing that the goal is 600 teachers on an annual basis, and we're not going to be able to do that. We're simply not large enough. We can't produce enough teachers. And how can we do it that is urban specific? So really challenging urban environments, and Relay has a particular expertise in that area.
Tell me what's going on at the South Campus. A whole lot.
I tell you, we've got some great things going on the South Campus. We've got a new building that will open in this coming year, so it'll open for the next academic year. If you haven't been over there, I'll take a look at it. It's wonderful. It's going to change that entire region over there. I mean, I think it's going to have great economic impact in those neighborhoods. Going to bring in new business. It's going to be wonderful. We've got athletic complex that hopefully will launch this coming year on South Campus as well. We'll be announcing that fundraising campaign, which we're near to closing. We hope to announce that in the spring.
And the building people drive by, if they drive by Park and the corner of Audubon, is that's the
new health sciences.
That's the new health sciences.
And nursing will be in there. The School of Communication Sciences and Disorders will be in there. We'll have an autism clinic in there. We're currently raising funds for the autism clinic. It'll be the only autism clinic in this region, and there's a critical need there, and we're excited about that.
A question that's been on the national. We talked about other issues with national colleges and so on. One is, and I haven't given enough time to this, and I apologize. Sexual assault. Has the whole debate about sexual assault and the response of schools caused you all to review or change what you've done? How you address the issue?
It has, and actually we'll have some things that we will roll out here in the next month when our students get back, looking at violence and sexual assault on campus specifically. And we have a training program that is available that we're reinforcing the need for that. We'll have some policies that we've looked at and how do we refine find how do we make sure that we have a safe campus, that we have good communication, and I will remind everyone, we actually have the safest campus in Tennessee.
Yeah.
That University of Memphis has been the safest campus in Tennessee 5 out of the last 7 years, and that we really do a remarkably good job. But we need to enhance our response and visibility regarding sexual assault, that we know our students and everyone feels free to access the resources that are available.
Okay, and the last one we have to get to is sports. How about that football team?
Fabulous football
I was going to ask you about basketball, but I won't.
Well, let me say congratulations to Coach Fuente, his staff. What a great job. Let me say congratulations to our athletic director, who has built a wonderful department, and we're having great success across the board. I would encourage you that it really is remarkable what they've done in 3 years with a football program that arguably was quite challenged and has won 10 games, one of the best seasons in history. Not only are they winning, but these are great young men.
Yeah. I'm going to skip over basketball, and I'm going to go right to conference realignment. Do you see that happening? I mean, do you see it's still shifting? A lot of people want to see the University of Memphis in the Big 12. Is that a possibility?
Yeah, I would tell you that the reality for college athletics is that on the national stage, there will be changes.
Okay.
And I think we all recognize that. And we will work hard, and we are working hard to position the University of Memphis to be successful when change occurs.
All right. Thank you very much for
Thank
being
you.
here. Thank
Happy
you,
to be here.
Bill. Thank you for joining us. Join us again next week. Good night.